Here we go. Reverend Keith Norton has had a connection to the spirit world as far back as he can remember. Some of his earliest memories as a child include seeing and hearing people that were from the beyond. Some people call them ghosts or spirits, but to him, it was just a normal part of life. It was these experiences that made Reverend Keith want to learn more about this unseen world. As a young child, he used to spend hours reading every book he could find on the spirit world, and the more he read, the more fascinated he became in learning about it, including mediumship and spiritualism. For many years, Reverend Keith was in search of a church that felt right, and once he entered the sanctuary at the Center of Enlightenment in 2006, he knew that this was the place for him. The Center of Enlightenment has always been a special place to he and his family, so it felt right when he and his beautiful wife Fiona were married in this very sanctuary on October 3rd, 2009. Over the years, he served on the board of directors in many roles as trustee, vice president, and president. Please help me welcome Reverend Keith Norton.
Good morning. Thank you, Reverend David. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My sermon today is called The Magic of Christmas, and it's based on the book The Polar Express. The Polar Express is a Christmas story about a boy who has reached an age where he begins to have his doubts about believing in Santa. Late one Christmas Eve, the young boy is laying awake in bed, pretending to be asleep while waiting for the sound of sleigh bells ringing from Santa's sleigh. At 5 minutes to midnight, he begins to hear a rumbling sound, and his room begins to shake. Then he hears thunderous sound outside his window. The boy jumps up from his bed and sees a train in the middle of the street. The boy grabs his robe, runs out the front door to look at the train. The train's conductor asks the boy, "Are you getting aboard?" The boy asks, "Where are you going?" To which the conductor replies, "To the North Pole, of course. This is the Polar Express." At first, the boy hesitates to board the train. But as the train begins to depart, the boy decides at the last minute to get on board and has to run alongside the train to keep up with it. At the very last minute possible, he jumps onto the train where he discovers the young boys and girls that are also going to the North Pole. And during the trip to the North Pole, as the movie progresses, there are several what we call misadventures along the way. When they finally reach the North Pole, the children meet Santa. And one of the traditions that Santa has is that he gets to pick the first child to receive the first gift of Christmas. Well, our young boy is the first person to get picked. When Santa asked the boy what he would like for Christmas, the boy answers that he wanted nothing more than anything else in the world than the bell from Santa's sleigh. Santa gets one of the elves to cut one of the silver bells from the reindeer's harness and hands it to the boy. As the story continues, the children get back in the Polar Express to return to their homes just in time for Christmas Day. As the story continues, the children get back to the Polar Express and return to their homes. Shortly after boarding the train, the boy realizes that he's lost the bell. At some point, it's fallen from his pocket, which has a hole in it. And needless to say, he's heartbroken. Later that morning, as the boy and his sister are finally finishing opening their gifts, his sister finds one last small box with his name on it. Upon opening the box, the boy discovers that inside the box was the bell that he had requested from Santa. Inside the box, there was also a note. "I found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket." The note was signed Mr. C. As he shook the bell, it made the most beautiful sound he had ever heard for him and his sister. But their mother and father couldn't hear it. "Oh, that's too bad," the mother said. "Yes, too," said the father. "It must be broken." The last page of the book reads, "At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah, the boy's young sister, found one Christmas she could no longer hear the bell. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it did for those who truly still believe. A few years ago, around Thanksgiving, that bell fell silent for me. That year, I was informed that I wouldn't be getting a Christmas bonus or a pay increase at work. I was crushed and angry. What a way to start Christmas. Bah humbug. I became both the Grinch and Ebenezer Scrooge in one person. I couldn't stand anything Christmas related. I couldn't wait for Christmas to be over that year. But that year, I went out just on a whim and bought 10 to 15 DVDs of all Christmas movies, all the classics. To this day, I still have no idea why I would have done that, knowing how miserable I was at the time. That year was the year Fiona and I started a new tradition in our house of watching a Christmas movie every single night throughout the month of December and heading into January. When I say classic movies, I'm referring to the black and white versions from the 30s and 40s. Films like Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life, The Bells of St. Mary's, and my all-time favorite, It Happened on Fifth Avenue. And if you've never seen that, It Happened on Fifth Avenue, it's about a guy who is homeless and knows when the owner of this huge mansion goes to Virginia for the winter. So he lives in this mansion and becomes what the other homeless people think is he's the owner of it. Well, then the daughter comes home and finds out that he's been in residence there, and he's got the wires, like when the front door opens, the lights go out because he's got the electric panel rigged up. But anyways, long story short, the father, who actually is the owner of the house, comes in as a homeless person and hears how bad, like, they're mimicking him. And so, like, that hard truth and slap you in the face kind of reality. And it's got some comical moments in it. So I highly recommend you checking it out. So that list of Christmas movies is about 40 titles now. And I actually have copies for everybody if you're interested. I have a few up here, and I'll have them available if you want them after fellowship. So going back to the year I didn't get a Christmas bonus, we spent the evenings watching all those old classics, trying to cheer ourselves up. As we watched The Grinch that year, there was one pivotal moment at the movie that made a huge impact on me. That line, maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. In the movie, when the Grinch had this thought, his turning point began. Here, the Grinch is finally beginning to realize that in his little heart, that maybe Christmas isn't about the presents. There's so much more. We all have that little bit of Grinch in us in some days, especially this time of the year. It's easy to get caught up in our own stuff. The stresses of going to work, coming home, trying to buy everyone gifts that you think are perfect, and finalizing our Christmas list hits you, and it hits them hard. Without even realizing it, the holiday slips right past us, and we forget what it's all about. The Grinch knows what he's talking about when he says Christmas doesn't come from a store. It's not about the toys or the clothes or the newest electronic gadget. All the boxes and presents with their ribbons and wrapping paper can put a smile on someone's face, but it doesn't matter what's under the tree. It matters who's around it. Take a moment to reflect on the Christmas of the past. Do you recall and remember what presents you got on a specific Christmas? Maybe there's one or two that stick out the most, but most people can't recall the gifts they've received over the years. Now take a moment to reflect on that same time at Christmas of the past and think about all the good times celebrating with the family. Think about who's been there, who will be there next year, who's there now. It's often the only time of the year that everyone in the family in the same place at the same time. Amidst our busy everyday lives in the hustle and bustle world we live in, our families are our constant. It's the best time of the year to show our appreciation and love for them, as well as spend time with them since it's hard to do a lot of times during the rest of the year. The holidays are also a busy time, no doubt about it, but take a minute to look around, step back from your own Christmas list, and wait a second before going to the mail to buy your loved ones gifts. Christmas doesn't come from a store, it comes from the love we show one another, not through material things, but through our hearts, our words, and our actions. It's about making memories with the family. That's the true magic of Christmas. It's also called the season of giving and the season, not the season of receiving, for a reason. Give back to your community, your friends, and your family. Not through tangible things, but through yourself. Just think, even the Grinch returned all the gifts that he stole from the Who's after his change of heart. And he even set their trees back up and, continued on helping and enjoying the festivities. Even the old and miserable Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol had a change of heart once he's shown the past, present, and future through a series of visions. When we first met Ebenezer Scrooge, he's ungrateful, miserable old bugger, but at the end of the story, he realizes how many people he's hurt over the years and how many people, including his own family, thinks he's just a miserable old man. Well, that was me that year I didn't get the bonus. I was angry, miserable, but the more I thought about it, the more I refused to let it get to me. Our seventh spiritual principle states that we make our own happiness or unhappiness. So what? I didn't get a bonus that year. As much as it hurt, I still had my wife, our awesome kids. We had a roof over our heads, heat in the house, electricity, and food in the fridge. We both have loving, caring families. As hard as it was, we were honest with the kids and told the kids I didn't get a bonus that year. So there wouldn't be a lot under the tree that year. And you know what? The kids could care less. I think it was harder on us as adults than it was the kids. The kids were just totally understanding and fine with it. But that year we sat around as a family, ate a ton of food, watched movies, and had a great time anyways. In the end, it wasn't about what was under the tree, it was about who was around that tree. That year made me a different person. Every Christmas since then, more and more has become more and more magical to me. Now, every Christmas, our living room undergoes a full transformation and turns into a cozy holiday cottage, full of Santas and elves and even our reindeer. And I was joking yesterday, it looks like Bronner's in our living room, and I love it. Now for us, Christmas is about making memories and being together as a family. It doesn't have to be on Christmas Day. It could be the week before or the week after. It's about being time together, celebrating the holiday. In the past, we've gotten together as a family or gone to the Christmas tree farm to cut our tree. We've also gone to the Huckleberry Railroad to ride the Christmas train. It could be something as simple as getting everyone together to bake and decorate cookies. It doesn't need to be expensive. It could be sitting around watching classic Christmas movies or playing games. Back in my childhood, a tradition we had was when visiting my grandparents who lived out in the country, was on Christmas Eve, all of us kids after dinner would get into our pajamas, grab a cup of hot cocoa, tons of cookies, and get in my parents' minivan and go driving around the town of Fremont, Ohio, listening to Christmas music, looking at Christmas lights. And when I say all of us kids, I've got like 25 cousins, but I'm the older, male, and so there's a lot of young ones. But at that time, it was about, I'd say 9 to 12 kids piled in a minivan, all in their pajamas. I mean, it was so many kids in there that the windows would steam up and we could barely see out the windows. All you'd see is the glow of the Christmas lights. But that's a memory that I'll always cherish and take with me. In closing, remember, it's not about the dollars spent, the number of gifts you receive, but it's about making memories with the immediate and extended family. And I know we're playing our dice game today, but being here almost 20 years and thinking of the fun we've had over the years in the dice game, that's always a great time. And it's about believing in the magic of Christmas. Do you still believe? If you truly believe in the magic of Christmas, you should be able to hear the most beautiful sound coming from the bell. This year, I received a very special gift. I received a bell from Santa's sleigh. Do you believe? To quote Santa in the Polar Express, the bell is a wonderful symbol of the spirit of Christmas, as am I. Just remember, the true spirit of Christmas lies in your heart. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to each and every one of you.